what I really wanted to talk to you today about serving our generation, because we're talking about Windrush. They have served us.
Yes.
And I thought about how are we serving our generation. We can't stop to imagine or to think all the things that our Windrush generation has done for us. My mom told me that they used to earn £6 a week. And that has to pay the rent, you got to buy food, you got to send more money to Jamaica to help the parents' home, and do all sorts. Yes. And they survived. They survived. Wasn't easy. I think when they bought the first house, they paid £3,000 for the first house. Just out the road there, out Shenley Road. £3,000. Can't pay rent now. That house now values nearly $1 million, if not more than $1 million. Because it was a 5-bedroom house. So, and especially with the art center and all the things that are happening around here now, the prices have just gone up. And you know, brethren, I give God thanks, because sometimes if the type of salary that young people are earning now, if they weren't earning, they couldn't even rent. It's difficult. People are moving back, children are moving back home with their older parents, with their children. Only this week the interest rate has gone up again. And you hear families are screaming all over the place how they're going to manage, how they're going to pay the rent. Thank God, whatever it is that they are working out to help, to support them. But brethren, I just want to leave with us today. I like the text from David, from Acts chapter 13 and verse 36, and just that one verse. Just that one verse, and there's a couple of words in it, in that one verse, that I really wanted to share with you today, but I will come back to it. But it reads, it said, now when David had served God's purpose in his own generation, he fell asleep. He was buried with his ancestors, and his body decayed. The text is telling us that David served well, served his generation. And it wasn't an easy task, just like our Windrush generation. It wasn't easy, but they didn't give up. They pressed along until better was done for them. Many of them have died and gone. Today, although we are talking about them, they can't hear our prayers and they can't hear our words of appreciation. But in our hearts, we know that they have also served their generation. They have served it, they have paved the way for you and I. And thank God we're here. I know if it wasn't for them, God will understand when I said if it wasn't for them. But I give God thanks that He had made it possible through them so that we can be here this morning, sitting here in a lovely church when it's winter, we can warm it, we can keep ourselves warm. When it's summer, we can open the doors. Amen. We can put the fans up. And we can worship the Lord together. But may I say today, brethren, that God has a purpose for every generation. And I just want each and every one of us today to reflect and think about your purpose in your time and right now in this generation that you're in. It is said that for Martin Luther, God's purpose for him was to turn the church from the false teaching generated by the corrupt Roman Catholic Church back to the true teachings of the Bible. That was his generation, his time. He stated the Reformation and fulfilled God's purpose for his generation. There was a Martin Luther. Yeah. There is a Sharon Hills. There is a Carisha. Every one of us, brethren, we're here to serve our generation. Yes. And I want to leave this with us today as we leave. I won't have time to go into the message and to talk about some of the things that I want to talk about. But I would like us today as we leave this place just to reflect, just to think about how am I serving my generation? Am I doing my best? Can I do better? I just want us to ask ourselves that question, because that's the question that we are faced with to ask. Am I doing my best? It is said that when England was going in spiritual decay, you heard about John Wesley. He rose to the occasion and brought spiritual revival through the Methodist movement. John Wesley fulfilled God's purpose in his generation. And so we understand when we look at the text, that's what David is we're trying to say, and time will not allow us to unravel this and to look at David's life and to look at how David really served his generation. And I want to encourage us this morning as we listen to all the reflections, the thoughts, the prayers that have been prayed. I pray today that we have gleaned some or a little bit more understanding of what the people who have gone on before us have done for us.
Thank you, Lord.
And have done for this country, and that we're here.
Thank you, Lord.
Some of us who would have never gone to universities got the opportunity to go to university. And I want to say to those of you that probably, I was listening to Sister I know what it feels like. I was in this country for 10 years before I get any documents. Yes, I know what it feels. It's like you have to run and hide and dodge. But you know when you have a determination to fight, and that's what I want to say to somebody today. Don't give up. You fight. Our generation fought. And because them fight, they're telling us that you can fight too.
Yes. Yes.
You can fight on. Better is ahead of you. What you need to do, just don't use one hand and hold it, use two.
Yes.
And embrace the goodness of God, what God has done for us. So let me leave this text this morning and ask you, as you leave here today, just ask yourself the question, are you serving your generation? There are so many things that are happening out there. We don't have time, Reverend Treasurer, to go through the different years of the generations of the millennium and the boomers and the Gen X and help me here, Sister Jackie, with them name the Y, X. We have different generations sitting all over the place. The generations. But can I remind us today that every one of us in here has a responsibility. And that responsibility is to make sure those of us who are grandparents, those of us who are carers, whatever it is, whatever you have to do, pass on a positive word, a word of encouragement, a word that would help people to look forward and look up and keep the eyes on the goal, knowing that God has called us to better things. So may God help us today. Don't give up. Don't be discouraged. Just keep focus and let the Lord continue to provide for you and fight your battle. So let us stand together as we close the service today. Brethren, may the Lord bless each and every one of you as you come. And as I said, don't worry, we're not going to, sometimes we can't have the traditional service, you know. You know, one of the things about the new overseer, and just turn up on your Zoom line. I was on a Zoom line, last week. And the next thing I know, I saw him flashed up on the line. But he will tell us that if he was listening into our service today, he would tell us, he don't want the traditional and the traditional service. He wants us to be creative. He wants us to reimagine. He wants us to be relevant to the time that we are living in. So can I say, church not really mash up? We just need to embrace change.